Howdy everybody, this is Omar, your audio amigo, here today with another showcase video for y'all. This time we're looking at a new product line from our friends at Dekoni Audio. These are some of Dekoni's new Ensemble line of cables. They're a modular headphone system that is currently available for pre-order from Dekoni. These give you the ability to easily swap which headphones you're using with your preferred amp. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. Quick disclaimer before we get started. This set of cables was handed directly to me by Tal Kosen of Dekoni at CanJam Dallas. I'm not being paid for this review, he just handed them to me and said try them out, do a video on them if you want. Because I could turn around and sell these if I wanted, these cost some money, I have activated the paid promotion feature here on YouTube. I do these disclaimers because I believe in full transparency when there's potential bias besides my own personal tastes at play. Thank you so much to Tal. If you see him at CanJam or any other audio event with the rest of the Dekoni squad, say hi. He's a fantastic guy to talk to, great group of people. But that being said, let's move on. Why don't we go ahead and start with a quick unboxing of one of their cables. I've been using these three for around 2-ish weeks now, but I kept this one in the box so you could see how simple the unboxing is. That's basically it. The bottom slides out, and there's your cable. No fuss, no mess, fully recyclable, and that's it. I like it. Keep the unboxing experience simple, let the product speak for itself. Now, speaking of the product, let's take a closer look. So let's get started by explaining the modular system. The Dekoni Ensemble cables use their MCS, or Modular Connection System. There's the logo right there. What this boils down to is that the Y-split on these cables comes apart with a little twist. This lets you quickly swap between headphones using the same sort of bottom half of the cable. This has a couple of advantages, at least as far as I'm concerned. First of all, if you display your headphones on a stand or a rack, it makes managing the cables a lot easier, since if it's sort of sitting on a stand, you just have this tiny bit that goes through the Y-split to manage, and it's super easy to manage compared to the entire length of a full-length cable. The next advantage, as far as I'm concerned, is that there's no adapters or interconnects that might get lost. The system by design has some inherent protection from being lost. One end stays plugged into the headphone, the other end stays plugged into your amp, so there's no small parts to get lost in the shuffle. Finally, since the bottom half is meant to basically stay plugged into your amp, you only need to buy one of these bottom halves, saving you some money down the line when it's time to expand your collection. So with the system explained, let's take a closer look at the cables themselves. They come in, let's say, 2 flavors. One uses a blue nylon jacket, the other is a braided silver wire design. We'll go ahead and start with the blue nylon. This is a very strong nylon jacket. You can really pull on it real hard and it doesn't seem to give at all. It takes abuse like an absolute champion. You'll be fine if your kids or your animals end up tripping on this cable at some point. It honestly feels like a really high quality nylon rope like you use to tie down loads in the back of a truck. It feels nice and soft in the hands. It's very easy to handle. It doesn't have any memory to it. It just sort of lays flat easily. One issue I did encounter, and it's not a huge one, is on the Edition XS, which I was using here. This nylon material is a bit microphonic. I noticed that if I was wearing a collared shirt, I would get a slight noise when the cable sort of rubbed up against the collar on my shirt. It's not the loudest microphonic noise I've ever heard, and the noise essentially completely disappears once even, low to moderate volume music starts playing, but it is there in quiet passages, so I would say if you're an avid audiobook listener, skip the blue nylon and go for the silver braid. Speaking of the silver braid, it's right here. This is an 8-wire braid that breaks up into individual 4-wire conductors that go to the headphones. It feels really, really nice in the hands. The coating on the wires isn't overly rubbery. It doesn't drag or snag on your hands as you're handling it. As you can see here, it really doesn't tangle. I haven't had any issues with this one. While I wouldn't expect this to be as strong as the nylon wire, I still think it's pretty durable. I don't expect this to break or crack under regular use. Since we've looked at the cables themselves, let's take a closer look at the hardware. On the amp end, you have a choice of 2 connectors, which I'll go through later. This is the 4.4. You get a nice sort of silvery blue colored connector with the Dekoni logo and the modular cable system logo on the other side. Nice little blue strain relief. The Y-split, which is where the magic happens, is shaped sort of, it's a tri-lobe design, similar to the rotor from a rotary engine. And once you have it apart, you can actually see, I'll do it here. You have a 2.5 millimeter 4-pole jack. It's a balanced connection with a sort of retention mechanism built into it. You can see there's a little tab right there, and that indexes into this little slot right here, which makes for a secure close. It's also got these 3 bumps on the sort of apexes of the rotary engine rotor, and that helps give a more positive connection so that it doesn't just come loose while wiggling around. It's a pretty good connection. The act of connecting and disconnecting, as you've seen, is pretty good feeling. I've been fidgeting with this one quite a bit. I only really have 2 issues with this design. The first issue I have is I wish that there were more retention tabs on the inside. You can see there's only one on the whole circumference of the cable. What this basically means is if you don't line it up properly, you have to turn it for quite a bit before it sort of snaps into place, which is not a huge deal. I just, wish it would be easier to make a third of a turn rather than 2/3 of a turn to make sure that you've got a positive connection. I understand why they did it. It's super easy once you get practice to it. The second sort of issue that I have, but honestly it's more understandable, there's a bit of extra effort required, I've noticed, to separate this once you've connected it. So if you notice here, I'll undo the latch here. It takes a bit of force to pull the ends apart. And I think they honestly just did that for a bit more security. They don't want it to, be able to separate easily if it's just hanging like that off of your neck. You never know when, that might happen. So that's understandable to me. The little bit of a sticking when you're doing and undoing the system, I think, is more of a feature rather than a bug. So I'm going to label that as a nitpick rather than an actual problem. Like I said, overall, the system is super satisfying to connect and disconnect. I'm really happy I got this extension necklace they were giving away at CanJam because, yeah, it's a real good fidget toy. It's a lot of fun to do this over and over again. As far as specifications go, I've really only got 2 things to look at here. First are the types of cable that are currently available from Dekoni and the current pricing associated with them. So I'll go ahead and pull them up. As you can see on the amp end, they currently offer only 1/4 inch or 6.35 millimeter single-ended and 4.4 millimeter balanced connectors. Those come in the 2 types of cables that we've discussed, the braided silver and the blue, and they come in 2 lengths. I've got 4.4 balanced cables here with me, both in the longer lengths to try out. As far as the headphone connections go, so far, they have dual 3.5 millimeter for like Hi-Fi Men and Focal and other brands that use those. You've got 4-pin mini XLR for the AKGs and other brands that use that. And you've got the Sennheiser HD6XX style 2-pin connectors available. That covers a good deal of the most popular headphone models on the market currently. But I was assured by Tal that more connection options are on the way very soon. He specifically called out 2-pin and MMCX connectors coming soon for IEMs, which I think will be a really interesting addition to the lineup. For purely selfish reasons, I hope they add the Dan Clark push-pull connectors as well as the 4-pole 3.5 millimeter single jack for Fostex, Odyssey, and Hi-Fi Men for balance connections. And while I'm at it, go ahead and give me the 2.5 mil jacks for the Sendy/Sigva headphones as well. That would basically get me covered. On the amp end, it would be nice to get a XLR plug. I know a lot of really nice amps and people who like the chunky feel of an XLR connector. But before we move on, one last thing. I did measure the resistance of these cables using my multimeter. All 4 segments, the headphone segments, these 2, all consistently measured below 1 ohm in both their connected and separated forms. I have no context for what this means. So what I did was I went and measured the stock cables for my HD6XX and my Edition XS, and I also measured a handful of aftermarket IEM 2-pin cables that I have, and all of them measured between 0.6 and 0.9 ohm, meaning that these cables were right in line and they shouldn't impact the sound in a negative way compared to the stock cables whatsoever. So user experience wise, swapping between headphones, so if you imagine this is connected to your amp, swapping between headphones is, well, let's just do it. So say I have my 6XXs plugged in there, listening to the 6XXs, everything is fine. Oh, listening to a more acoustic guitar oriented track, need that extra planar detail. Okay, no problem. Twist, pull, come over here, insert, twist, done. Just like that, headphone swap, super easy. Yeah, it's been this easy the whole week and a bit that I've been using these. Now, I will say I don't have any experience with any other headphone modular cable systems. So I know there's people out there who have been using the Heart Audio interconnect system. They'll probably be used to this sort of easy swap life. I'm not. I don't have a set of Heart Audio interconnects. But yeah, I like the fact that it's built into the Y-split. I think it makes for a very convenient attach-detach point. So I'm going to touch very briefly on the sound quality these cables have. I did A/B these cables compared to the stock cables on both of these headphones and on a couple other of my hi-fi mins, just to compare the sound, see if there was any difference. And other than the volume boost from switching to a balanced connection, I really couldn't tell much of a difference between the stock cables and the modular cables, at least on my equipment. That lines up with the results of my impedance measurements, but it's still nice to know that the science lines up with what my brain is listening to. So yeah, the sound quality doesn't change at all when using these cables. Doesn't change for the positive, doesn't change for the negative, which I think is the right thing to do. Okay, so let's attempt to do some sort of comparison. Like I said, I haven't tried any other modular cable systems besides this one, so I personally don't have a great point of comparison. But what I did do is I went to the Heart Audio Cables website and I tried to see, what would the cost difference be getting a ensemble system, sort of like the one I have here, versus the Heart Audio system, their basic, non-custom, cheapest available options. So I went with standard sleeving on both brands, so the blue nylon as opposed to the silver braided, and I went with just a standard red on Heart Audio. And I decided to basically recreate this system here. So a 4.4 connection to the amp, a connection for hi-fi men in dual 3.5, and a connection for the Sennheiser in the dual HD 6XX connectors. I'll go ahead and pull up the price comparison here. So as you can see, the Heart Audio system will set you back $107. I'm not exactly sure what sleeving Heart Audio is using on their cables, but it seems like some sort of nylon or like paracord type insulation material. I looked on their website and I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm sure they'd tell me if I asked. The equivalent Dekoni system using the blue nylon cable, as I mentioned, costs $70 US more at $180. Now, I haven't used the Heart interconnect system, so I can't say for sure that I prefer it, or the Dekoni system for that matter. The main difference I see is the attachment point for the modular cable. As I mentioned, the Dekoni system here, the attach point is on the Y-split. That, as I said, would mean easier storage of the headphone itself if you want to have it on a stand or a display, but having the attachment point on the amp means that you'd have to have a longer cable attached to your headphones if you have them hanging off of a stand. Or, you could just unplug your headphones completely and just wrap the cable underneath them for storage, which would negate this whole discussion. That's essentially why this video is a showcase rather than a straight-up review. I don't know which system is sort of faster to connect or disconnect. Can you do one system one-handed, the other one you can't? Which one feels nicer in the hands? Which one has a more satisfying, feel to use? Which one has nicer sleeving? I can't answer any of those questions. I just have the one system. One thing that I will say, though, is that at time of writing, the Heart Audio system stocks connectors for basically all mainstream headphones, including the ones I mentioned earlier. I don't think that will be the case for too long. Dekoni is a huge, very trusted name in the audio world, so when they tell me that the other connector types are coming, I'm inclined to believe them. So overall, would I recommend the Dekoni Ensemble Cable System? I would say if you're looking for a modular cable system from one of the most trusted brands in audio, the only brand I know of that actually measures their pads to see how they affect the sound of your headphones, then I would go for it. As I've mentioned, the sort of tri-lobe rotary engine Y-split system is innovative, and I feel it makes for a super quick and easy way to swap headphones around, especially if, like me, you're sitting in your listening chair and your amp is across the room and you want to switch headphones. It's a lot easier just having the interconnect on the Y-split. The braided silver cables feel extremely premium in the hands. They're very high quality. And the blue nylon cables, as I said, I'm pretty sure you could use to tie down some 2x4s in the bed of a truck. That being said, if you do want to deck out your whole audio family in modular cables with custom colors, with custom cable lengths, going to a boutique shop like Heart Audio will give you a lot more customization options. What I will say is as soon as you start adding all those customization options, the cost will go up, and it's probably going to match the cost of this system. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to decide between this system or the Heart system or some third system that I haven't heard of or tried. So yeah, I would recommend these. I think they're solid. Well, that's going to wrap up my second ever Audio Amigo showcase video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'd like once again to extend a heartfelt thank you to Tal and the rest of the team at Dekoni Audio for handing me these cables for review. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. I hope I see you guys again at another audio show. But as far as I'm concerned, that's going to do it for the moment. I really appreciate all your continued support. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Omar with Audio Amigo Reviews, and I'll catch you all next time.